Let's go through the important questions of chemical reactions and equations chapter. So in that, for exam point of view, the types of chemical reactions is very important for identification and also for writing a definition. So types of chemical reactions. There are 4 types of chemical reactions: chemical combination, chemical decomposition, chemical displacement and chemical double displacement. First we go with chemical combination. So I just tell a only easy way of writing a definition. For chemical combination, 2 or more substances are we also written as reactants combine to form single substance, that is product. 2 or more substances combine to form a single substance. This is the definition for chemical combination. Example for this is C means carbon. When it reacts with oxygen, it forms carbon dioxide. 2 or more substances. See here, carbon is one substance and oxygen is another substance. It forms a single substance called carbon dioxide. So like that, other examples are when hydrogen, it reacts with oxygen, it forms water. Then another example, calcium oxide, when it reacts with water, it forms a single product called calcium hydroxide. Next, chemical decomposition. Decomposition means breakdown. So that is single reactant breaks down to form 2 or more products. For example, here water, so which is an example of electrolysis also. This water, when it decomposes, it forms hydrogen and oxygen. Then calcium carbonate, when it is heated, it forms calcium oxide and carbon dioxide. And another example which takes place in the presence of sunlight, silver chloride, when exposed to sunlight, it forms silver and chlorine. These 3 are the examples of chemical decomposition. Here the first one is an example for decomposition takes place with electricity, and the second one is an example for decomposition takes place with heat, and the third one is an example for decomposition with sunlight. Then chemical displacement. More reactive element displaces less reactive element. It is called chemical displacement. Example for this one is iron. When it reacts with copper sulfate, it forms iron sulfate along with copper. Iron is more reactive element than a copper, so it displaces copper from copper sulfate. Then zinc reacts with an copper sulfate solution, it forms zinc sulfate and copper. Here zinc is more reactive than copper, so it displaces the copper from copper sulfate. And the next type, that is chemical double displacement. Exchange of ions between the reactants. Exchange of ions between the reactants, we call it as a chemical double displacement. So for example, sodium sulfate, when it reacts with barium chloride, it forms barium sulfate and sodium chloride. So this barium sulfate is an precipitate. Precipitate means insoluble substances. When these two reacts to form a precipitate, the insoluble substance called precipitate, it is an example for chemical double displacement. See here, there is an exchange of ions between the reactants. So the left hand side we call it as an reactant. When we write an ions here, Na plus, SO4 minus, Ba plus and Cl minus, See here, this Na plus ion reacts with Cl and Ba, it reacts with SO4. So there is an exchange of ions between the reactants. This we call it as a chemical double displacement.